Hello, this is Zahirul. Welcome you all on Frankly Speaking. My guest today is Dr. Natalia Kanem. She is the Executive Director of UNFPA and Under Secretary General of the United Nations. On 2017, 3rd of October, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres appointed Dr. Natalia Kanem as Executive Director of UNFPA. The UNFPA is the United Nations Population Fund with operations in 155 countries and territories. She brings to the position more than 30 years of strategic leadership experience in the fields of medicine, public health, reproductive health, peace, social justice, and philanthropy. She studied at Harvard, Columbia, and the University of Washington, and the first Latin American to head the agency UNFPA. Dr. Kanem is Panamanian by birth, but her ancestry is African. She spent many years living and working in Nigeria and Tanzania. She is now visiting Bangladesh, and we welcome Dr. Natalia Kanem on Frankly Speaking.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to having you on Frankly Speaking. First of all, I know this is your first visit to Bangladesh, and you have many programs. You're going to meet many important policymakers. Our Prime Minister also, you're going to visit Cox's Bazar to see the situation in Rohingya camps. So first of all, tell us about your objectives of your visit, what you are going to achieve through this visit, why you have undertaken this visit to Bangladesh for the first time.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the warm welcome. It is a pleasure for me to be in a country that is legendary in the field of public health. The achievements of Bangladesh are known the world over because of the contributions in so many sectors and spheres, many of them exemplified by the concern for rural women. So, as a young doctor learning about primary health care, as someone who was working in the philanthropic world, the name of the Grameen Bank, BRAC, these are all legendary institutions, such as the IDDRB as well. It's a pride for me to be in Bangladesh because UNFPA has had a long association in this country since 1974, and we feel that in some small way we have contributed to the progress and the development that we see in the Bangladesh of today that is poised to leap into middle-income country status. And of course, the leadership of the Prime Minister, the Honorable Sheikh Hasina, who I will have the honor of meeting, leaves a legacy of understanding the safety net issues that UNFPA represents. For example, there's been a huge achievement in Bangladesh, and a lot of it in recent years, in ending death in childbirth, one of our central concerns.
And what are the other areas you are going to focus, or especially I know that the UNFPA in Bangladesh focusing on many areas, especially reproductive health, women's rights, empowerment, ending child marriage in Bangladesh. So, but in this visit, particularly in which are the issues you are especially going to focus?
In this visit, the main issue is partnership. Already today, I had a very productive visit with the ministries with whom UNFPA works very closely, including, for example, Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Health. There, I learned firsthand how the cooperation on our three issues is going on and where we need to strengthen our efforts in cooperation in the country. First and foremost, to end death in childbirth means that women are going to be healthier and happier, and we are going to stop the occurrence of problems and complications like fistula, and tomorrow we will be talking about fistula. Similarly,
it is one of the most neglected issues. Yeah.
Yes, and this is an injury that happens to the womb during childbirth. If a woman knows that she should go and receive prenatal care and also deliver the baby in an institution, we can avoid this womb injury happening. And I want to praise the midwives of Bangladesh. UNFPA has helped to train thousands of midwives in this country They are giving very high quality service throughout Bangladesh, and that again is providing a service where no one should be left behind.
That's a very good point, that no one should leave behind,
Yes.
leaving no one behind. And but when you're talking about the training and creating new force in midwifery, but
Yes.
I know that significant number of midwives in our country right now have been produced by the different organizations, but employment opportunity is not that remarkable yet. So is there any option from the UNFPA side to pursue, to create employment opportunity for the midwives in the country?
One thing that I must say is that it is a goal of government, and it's a goal that UNFPA shares, to deploy more and more midwives throughout the country, especially in the rural areas. And in our UNFPA Bangladesh annual report, which just came out, you will be able to see that the midwifery corps is highly employable. This is a fantastic profession for a young Bangladeshi. So we actually think that when it comes to employment issues, midwifery is so versatile and it is so needed that this is a very good route for a young nurse to take. Now, a second issue that UNFPA is concerned about in Bangladesh and everywhere that we work is to make sure that a woman can decide for herself how to plan her family. And again, Bangladesh is a leader in that understanding. So globally, we've seen that Bangladesh has taken its place among the countries with a progressive viewpoint on allowing women to make contraceptive choices. We would like for women to be able to plan their family at a time when it's right for her. And this is part of our concern about being pregnant too young. It curtails a young woman's chances to finish her education, to be competitive in the workplace. And I would also say that in Bangladesh, UNFPA has been a leader in working with the national plan so that sexual and gender-based violence will come to an end. Women deserve to be protected and respected, and this is one of the features of our work, which is all predicated on data. So our data experts within the Population Fund, UNFPA, work so closely with the Bureau of Statistics. And together we are planning for your census, which is going to be taking place in 2020.
I found in one of your interviews, you said that every dollar invested in adolescent reproductive health can yield between $6 and $20 in economic benefits. Could you please explain?
Absolutely, because investing in an adolescent, and you know you have creative, brilliant, beautiful young people in this country. So when you have a youth bulge, like we have here in Bangladesh, the investment in the adolescent girl can even be more than this statement, and this has been very carefully reviewed, that if a girl is able to finish her education, if she is able to contribute to the economy, if she's able to be productive, and if she is not hampered by having more children than she wishes to have too closely together, if she can space her children and be able to be well nourished and all of the things, that the benefits to her and to the next generation are huge. So for a country that is developing,
like Bangladesh,
just like Bangladesh,
do they paying enough attention to this?
The youth development strategy is something that government in its wisdom has decided to strengthen. And we support this in particular, even for girls and boys who are at school. The understanding of sexual and reproductive health and rights is so important. Girls need to understand their bodies. Boys also need to understand physiology. These are the processes of life which need to happen at the right time. And so being able to explain to young people how to protect themselves from truly.
But the amount of progress we have made so far, is that remarkable? Is that good?
It is very good. I think that it is more than remarkable. It is commendable. For example, if we were talking even 20 years ago, the rate of death in childbirth was very high, and it has come down. And we need for it to come down to as close to zero as we can get by the year 2030. Similarly, your progress on making contraception accessible in certain cohorts, this has happened very rapidly, very remarkably. And I think now we want to make sure that younger women are aware of and have the same protection that the older cohort have.
Dr. Natalia, you are talking about gender-based violence, sexual harassment, exploitation, abuse of women. How do you view the situation in Bangladesh?
Bangladesh is making strides in awareness of the problem. And for me, the awareness of a girl or a woman herself is very important. You must feel that you have rights, you are entitled to be respected and protected. And I will say that Bangladesh is using very creative new ideas. And today, I met someone who is in the police. She's a Bangladeshi policewoman. And working with UNFPA, government has created standard operating procedures. So any woman in the country can walk in and talk to a constable and say, this is what has happened to me. She will be treated confidentially. She will be treated with respect. And this standard operating procedure took a while to develop because we had to consult with the women themselves. This is something where...
The sort of victim support system.
Exactly. And the fact that it's going to be soon available across the country, I think is very, very important in terms of women's rights. From the concern on prevention of violence, this starts in the home, it starts with respect, it starts with young people understanding the full equality of women and men, of girls and boys. And so I think our focus on working with young people is very important in this regard.
One of your purpose of visit is to see the situation in Rohingya camps. Sure. We know that United Nations have been very compassionate, have been trying to have a headway to end this crisis, and they're thinking about the repatriation of a huge population. From UNFPA, what you have been doing for the huge number of population? We have opened up our heart and home for 1 million people.
It's, again, I think, one of the beautiful things about the country of Bangladesh, to open up your heart and your home to your neighbor in a time of distress, even when you yourself are trying to be creative with development. It's something that is very, very noble. It is something that has given a lot of respect to Bangladesh around the world. And we know that this is a sacrifice that Bangladesh is making. From the standpoint of the United Nations, we're very grateful to Bangladesh for this support. We also feel that we have a concern for the Rohingya and for the community that is hosting them as well. Yeah. So we actually wish to be of service to Rohingya people and also to the generous communities which in those areas have also welcomed these people. From the standpoint of UNFPA, and we work very closely with all the arms of the UN, the Refugee Agency, and all of the other agencies, it is our responsibility to make sure that safe birth will occur even if you're in labor in a camp. And to that extent, we have worked with over 250,000, 250,000 and more, Rohingya and host population women to ensure that they have prenatal care, that they have safe labor, and we also have provided services in terms of sexual and gender-based violence. It is so painful to think that human beings have mistreated each other. And for women and girls that have suffered, it's so important to have safety, and we have provided, we call them women-friendly spaces, where you can walk in, you can relax, you can have access to a counselor if you need advice, if you need support from a social worker. We're able to help you.
But the international community, the way they have been supporting to the community, local host community and the Rohingya people, is that enough? The way they have been pledging to support them, to stand by the people in distress?
Well, I think the international community has seen an outpouring of support. And I think it's very important to acknowledge the tremendous degree of solidarity, first and foremost from within Bangladesh, and also from so many donors who have seen fit to invest in trying to make sure that the Rohingya crisis situation is handled. It is not enough. I have to be honest and to say that when you have 1 million people in need, that we have not been able to cater for all of the needs. And that is one of the reasons that I'm here.
Yeah, thank you. When you talk about the global programs or activities by the UNFPA, in your view, what are the major successes or achievements from your organization?
Well, I think it's okay to kind of boast a little bit because we are very proud of UNFPA as being the flag bearer for Cairo plus 25 next year. In Cairo, when the International Conference on Population and Development occurred in 1994, it was the first time, and UNFPA was the lead, where we said that women's rights are human rights. And over the years, we've actually been very proud of the program of action from Cairo. We have made clear that sexual and reproductive health should help women to move forward, not to move backward. So I think that is our signal achievement, which we call universal access to sexual and reproductive health, and it's a very practical thing. We have been able to save so many lives because for every woman who delivers safely, for every woman who avoids pregnancy when she doesn't want to be pregnant, for every young person that fulfills their potential, UNFPA is really there to support that. Today, we are the largest provider of contraception and maternity drugs across the world in the public sector. And we also are very proud that we have helped countless numbers of censuses and health surveys. These are the data for decision making. Today, for example, I had the honor of meeting the Speaker of the Parliament. For her to make her decisions, she told me, she really depends on evidence and data that's gathered, some of it shepherded with the help of UNFPA.
How do you foresee the population challenge for Bangladesh?
For me, the really important point about the population of Bangladesh is that you have a young population with huge potential. So investing in young people for a demographic dividend, for a demographic bonus, is something where I feel very certain that Bangladesh, as you're coming into your middle income status, is going to take advantage of. These are going to be well-educated young people. They're going to be confident. They're not going to be victims because they're going to understand their body, their sexual and reproductive health and rights. And I really believe that when you give young people the understanding that they are creators of their own future, this is the secret ingredient of success. And you have abundant creativity in this country. And so I do think that the population dilemmas all hinge on women being able to control their reproductive.
Do you see the government in Bangladesh are investing enough to seize, to exploit the benefits of demographic advantage?
I think that Bangladesh has been very astute, and that government in the national plan has highlighted many of these issues. As UNFPA, we have been advisors to government. We have followed the lead of government, especially when it comes to the investment in young people, looking at data, making sure that the health cadre, and in particular midwives, as I've said, but we've also worked on emergency obstetric services and so many other parts of the plan where people come first. So we are really pleased to be working in tandem with government to improve the situation, especially of those who can be neglected, like people who are disabled, for example, or somebody who is in a very isolated community. They have the same rights like you and me. And so from that perspective, it's very important to have the ability to count them, to shed light on their situation, and to advocate for them.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you very much
for making time.
Thank
for
you.
making precious
My
time.
pleasure.
Thank you. Dear viewers, that's all my conversation with Dr. Natalia Kanem, Executive Director of UNFPA. And thank you indeed for watching this show. We invite you to watch our next episode. Until then, you take care.